Come here, you piece of shit. All right. So, dear viewers, back for a third time with a very, very, very special guest, and he's very dear to me. It's my good friend Andy, and I had to wait for him to be finished working because he's my favorite person to talk to you about UAP. I'm very, very tired. It's actually 2:30 in the morning in Holland, but exciting times. So, well, it's probably going to be the American Canadian audience listening in right now. But let me introduce you to my very, 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 very good friend, Mr. Andy Marcial, Puerto Rico. Viva!
You actually pronounced my last name really good.
I know.
Everybody else kills it. They're like Marshall. Like, no, that's not how you say
With my
it.
friend and the marshal.
What's up, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so Andy, you were working today when all this shit went down. How did you feel?
Bro, I got yelled at by my supervisor because I couldn't get anything done. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this shit just dropped. I'm
Yeah.
running all over the place showing people. I'm like, I told you, motherfuckers.
Oh, dude, it must have been like you were getting all of this new shit,
Oh my God.
but we talked a couple of weeks ago because I was so excited I couldn't sleep and possibly slightly drunk, and we talked about this. Dropped to you what like everybody heard today. How do you feel, man? How do you feel about this?
Bro, it is. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's haven't seen the article. I was like, oh my God, is this it? I'm like, is this it? And I
Yeah,
start reading. I was like, holy shit, this is it. Yo, it freaking blew my mind because I never in a million years thought that I would be alive to actually see this day come. Like, I
yeah,
mean, I don't know if people understand how big of a deal this really is. Like, even if the guy didn't, or the article or whatever didn't show any real legitimate proof, you're talking about a high level individual who came forward, was vetted and everything. The guy is who he is, and comes out saying that not only did they have retrieved vehicles, but bodies as well.
dude.
Like, I was not expecting for that to go public in this way. Like that is just insane to me.
Yeah, it's just weird because it kind of feels like I was kind of complacent with the fact probably not going to hear anything at all ever, right? And then just full people on Earth who knows we're probably not alone. We're not alone. We're not alone, and I don't get to share that with anyone now.
Yo,
It was
that
so
feeling
unfair.
sucks.
It's so unfair, right? And I'm like, I know this, and I couldn't sleep at all. And thank God for the time difference. You were awake. You were probably not just getting home from work or something. And I got to talk to you. We talked for maybe an hour, a couple of hours.
Yeah, I
It
think it
was
was like hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that.
yeah, but that I cherish that moment. I won't ever forget it. By the way, because there was a crazy night, man. And if there was someone on this planet who deserves to know that information, it would be you, my friend. You're basically the one that I couldn't I couldn't keep that information from you, man. It
I
was
appreciate it, man.
would have
I'm
like
glad you called me, bro. I was I can't even talk now.
yeah,
Yeah, I was like a
yeah,
fucking kid at Christmas. I was like, holy shit.
yeah. But then again, also felt a little insecure because there's always the possibility it's not gonna drop, right?
Yeah.
There's always that possibility, but it actually dropped earlier because it wasn't supposed to drop today, actually.
I mean, listen, even if it didn't drop, just you knowing that it exists is still. That's how I take it. Like for example, what I saw it. No one else did, but hey, I got to see it. I know it's real. And you, if that would have happened, hey, you got to see it and you know it's real. I would have believed you regardless. Just from the way you called me, I was like, okay, I know he saw something really good because he never calls me like this.
No, I was hysterical.
That was funny. That was funny though.
Yeah, no, you know, again, the thing that sold me on this was the documentation. It was the documentation and some other information.
I know. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
But
It will come out in due time.
well, I can tell about I do have I'm gonna boast again. I do know why, and I'm gonna disclose this to the select audience that is listening now. There is a reason why David Grush got to tell what he's telling, and that is whatever happens in American skies, land, or seas will be and will ever probably forever stay classified. But whatever doesn't happen on American sovereign
Land.
land, whatever, they can tell. And I know for a fact it was the Italian 1933 crash, the also known as the Mussolini UAP. There was some very compelling evidence, the verified telegrams that went to the former dictator Benito Mussolini.
Yep.
And during my podcasts, I did the last 2 years. I already got the hints. Andy, would you mind showing together the two of us the little thing I put together just a second ago?
Yeah, go for it.
We can share it with our audience.
Go
Guys,
for
get
it.
ready. Get ready. You're gonna see some shit. So let me see. Where did I put it? Oh no, lost it. Oh, there it is. All right.
Bombshell claims from a military whistleblower. UFO wreckage recovered by the U.S. kept classified by a secret government program for decades.
But Roswell may not have been the first event, and well known. I mean, there's been some reporting internationally as well that there have been some crashed vehicles, and they were obtained by local authorities, and there was some scientific study done on them. I want to be very careful not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but I've seen personally some documentation that's very compelling from a particular foreign country where they had a recovery of a vehicle, and
Okay.
they had some countries conducting scientific analysis on it, and after World War II, allegedly, parts of that vehicle were brought to the United States.
Yeah, I think I know what country that was. It was a South American country, I think. Maybe Brazil. No, damn it! I want to. Argentina. I'm not sure. I'm fishing. Well, I think it's
Italy.
Yeah, it was Italy.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's as it was explained to me. I saw some documentation. Look, I don't want to get too much into the conspiracy side of the house. There is some documentation that has been validated that was from Mussolini himself.
okay. So, guys, this was one of the first hints to what is actually being disclosed today. Lou is hinting on it. Andy,
Mm-hmm.
it was already there, kind of, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. Let's continue.
And it's authentic. It's been proven to be authentic. The documentation. So certainly interesting.
And this was Mussolini, so this could have been pre-Second War or during Second War. So it is pre-Roswell. Well, guys, there's something you can look into. Okay, so I'm very curious about that. I'm gonna go into that.
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Crazy.
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me they were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
Grush alleges the U.S. government has recovered non-human craft for decades. He's filed a whistleblower complaint saying he gave what he calls the classified proof to Congress and the Intelligence Community Inspector General. News Nation has confirmed David Grush's credentials and resume. We've not seen or verified the alleged proof he says he's provided to investigators. He says he can't show us the proof for national security reasons. He also tells us he's not seen.
I've seen it.
Stop rubbing it in, you bastard.
I've seen it, and I have multiple witnesses to vouch for that.
Photos of the alleged craft himself, but has talked extensively with other intelligence officials who have.
If you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to
I love
for
this part.
decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign.
Why do you love it so much, Andy?
I love the fact that Ross pointed that out. The fact that they've been lying to us. I love that they put that part in there. Like, that is so important. You don't understand how important that is. Because, like I said, it takes all the other stories that we've heard that come from credible individuals that we dismissed and we called kooky, and now you got to revisit it and say, hold on a second. We were told this guy was crazy. We were told we were all crazy for believing him and believing in all this. And now here's this guy coming forward saying they lied to us on purpose. And it was a disinformation program on purpose to fool us and hide this information. Like, that is important. And I'm so glad that they put that in there.
All right. So we'll follow up on that after, but let's go.
Targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well,
non-human?
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And
God, that reminds me of the Mexico incident where they recovered like all those bodies. Like, oh my God, it was so crazy. I can't believe this is happening. I'm literally geeking the fuck out right now.
Look, man, it was all there.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
Believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
We're talking about a 1933 UFO recovery in Italy. UFO recovery in Italy, I think it was. Now, I've asked you before, was it? Now, to my audience, you guys think, why is he so hell-bent on sharing this information? Because you will find out soon enough, this particular retrieval is so incredibly important because it is actually the life hack that got this whistleblower to disclose whatever he's disclosing, but this will unfold the next couple of days. Just watch Sunday. I'll continue. A crashed vehicle, or was it something that was dug up, like an archaeological finding?
Well, I can tell you that, according to my knowledge, it was not dug up. Repeat, not.
Okay.
It was something that landed and or crash landed. This is a telegram. This telegram was sent by the news agency. The Stefani was the
Okay, so Lou was talking about verified documentation. This is what he's talking about.
name news agency, which was the only official news agency of the time, classified riservatissimo, which means confidential, and it has the highest priority, and it's dated June 13th of 1933.
By the way, this is Mr. Paolo Guisardi. He's involved with the Italian ICER. He is involved with the Italian CUN, Centro Ufologo Nazionale, or something. So basically, the Italians are very aware of this UAP crash. It's very well known. When I was in San Marino, I met a lot of Italian people who were involved with the Italian Secret Service, who were basically vouching for whatever this is. So let's continue.
At 16 hours. So the text, which I have translated below, it says, by superior order, it is disposed to treat the news diffused with Stephanie's dispatch number 6631C of today as follows. Aircraft above recognized as Meteor, repeats Meteor, by the Brera Astronomical Observatory, which is was the most important observatory at the time, give minimum graphic relevance to the news. No need, repeat, no need to correct, minimize, immediate confirmation of receipt required, signed by the Director of Special Affairs. First of all, we have this telegram, and
so immediately, even we're talking about the 30s, they were covering up this UAP crash, right? In the 30s.
This is the cover up. We are seeing the cover up at work. So the text of this, which has the same classification, the same priority, and sent to all, tutti means all the offices, of personal order of the Duce, that is Mussolini. So it was Mussolini in person who ordered this. It is disposed immediate, repeat, immediate arrest of diffusion of the news related to aircraft of unknown nature and origin, aircraft of unknown nature and origin, of which in this dispatch of Stephanie, date today 7:30, the one that we do not have. Immediate recasting of any leads from the newspaper bearing said news is ordered. So eliminate any trace of this. The maximum penalties for transgressors are foreseen up to referring to the Supreme Court for state security. Immediate confirmation of receipt is required. So you see, this is Mussolini here personally disposes the immediate arrest of the diffusion of this news.
Yeah.
Then we have
What do you think, Andy?
That's crazy. I was just gonna say, I'm actually looking at, there's 3 other telegrams, and I have the transcripts here. So after this, I could read it out to you. It describes what the object looked like and its capabilities.
All right.
another one. Where is it? This one is not dated. It has the same classification, same priority. In any case, it says, by personal order of the Duce, absolute silence is order on presumed landing on national soil of unknown aircraft. Stop. Version to publish, diffused with today's dispatch by Stephanie, is confirmed. That.
Let me tell you something about this gentleman I'm talking to. not only was involved with the UFO thing in Italy, but Mr. Guisardi was responsible for counter-espionage for the Italian embassy in Berlin. He is actually Secret Service. He
Wow,
was, yeah. That's how I met him in Italy.
that's
Okay, so
impressive.
now I'm gonna tell something I've never told anyone before. So when I was in San Marino, Lou Elizondo introduced me to a couple of Italian gentlemen. First of all, the head of ISAR Italy is a guy named Roberto Pinotti, but he was also the head of the Italian Secret Service. And Paolo was introduced to me as counterespionage for the embassy in Berlin, and there were a couple of other guys I was introduced to who were involved. They were all either Secret Service or military, and really messed with my mind because I was like, why are all these Secret Service people involved with ufology? But now I understand, you know,
Mhm.
they were sitting on this information. So let's continue.
Now,
It
now,
is the
Oh,
it,
sorry.
it's
oh,
Yeah.
actually, I was gonna say real quick. Now, just imagine, okay? You remember what you said about how you were like you had this information and you were sitting on it and you're like, who do I share it with? And you called me, or you were basically like, I have this information. How do I tell the world? Now think about how difficult it must be for the individuals who are actually currently in this and
Yeah.
have been in this, and those that are no longer with us, that were that had access to information and to these actual craft and these beings, and they weren't even allowed to tell their kids or their wife or nobody. Do you
Yeah.
imagine sitting with that information your entire life,
Yeah.
knowing that the human race is not alone, that there's possibly multiple races existing on this planet with us? We walk by them every day, not even realizing it, and you can't say nothing to nobody. Think about the
Nobody.
torture that has to that brings to someone's like psyche, like psychologically. That's got to be. I mean, and listen, this is coming from experience. You know what I'm talking about now.
Mm.
When you get this kind of information and you can't say anything, or you're told not to say anything, and you're like, "Oh my God, I want to tell people," and you can't. Can you imagine that? Could you imagine? I mean, now when I say this, you can think, you can look back at Bob Lazar and understand why he said it, because he was like, this is too important to keep from humanity. You know, like
True.
that. And what his exact words were, this is a crime against humanity. It's a crime against the scientific community, because you're talking about something that needs to be talked about, that needs to be investigated and analyzed and spoken about, to try and like better our species. But we're not. We got a bunch of greedy motherfuckers who only want to exploit the technology to be able to fucking make money off of it, or control us, or keep the
Mm.
power. Like, I mean, it's like unbelievable when you put it in that perspective.
Not
You know
just
what I'm
that,
saying?
it goes much further. You know, even like the political heavyweights were kept completely in the dark, right? You know, that's why we have the congressional hearings. They didn't even know.
But that's
Wait,
scary.
that is scary. That is scary, and that's why it's completely validated. You know, they demanded them to uh, disclose whatever they were sitting on the information, because you know it was this very secluded group that probably has been sitting on this information for decades, like slow dripping some information to some political heavyweights, probably some presidents. But you have to imagine that there's kind of a validity to that too, because you know the politicians change every 4 years. So you're gonna like disclose some really bizarre, extremely important information to some dipshit that's going to disappear in 4 years, and now he knows everything. you know,
I mean,
so,
yeah. But I mean, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a very good point. I mean,
right?
then it makes it even more dangerous now, because
Yeah,
now you only have a handful of people, not only
right.
with the knowledge, okay, but you also have a handful of people that are exploiting the technology, and we all know. Okay, we all know. I don't care what country you're from, what military you have, or whatever, but we all know that the military is always 10, 20, 30 years more advanced than us technologically. Now, if you add the fact that we have been reverse engineering technology that is not from this planet, that is far superior to what we have, okay, and only a handful of people know of this, a
Yeah,
handful of people have access to it, and
which
a
is true.
handful of people know what the capabilities of this are or is, that's incredibly dangerous because, yeah, and I put it like this. I put it,
In
this
the
is how,
wrong hands, in the wrong hands, we could be in real trouble, right?
yeah, I put it, this is
Yeah.
the terms I put it in. If you're playing a video game, right?
Mm.
I was actually talking to someone recently about this. Let's say you're playing, a Street Fighter, right? And you're playing Street Fighter, boom, 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 you're losing, and you get pissed off, and you find out that there's a cheat code, right? And you use that cheat code to beat the shit out the other player.
You know what
And
we did?
now you're
Hiro-
unstoppable.
we did that. Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
Yeah, exactly. That's just in that one instant, that one scenario. Now imagine, okay, taking that incident or that scenario or that technology and multiplying it by 1,000 or 1,000,000, okay? And now you have the cheat code to reality, okay?
Mm.
Because these things are not just able to do, the little cool things that we see in the sky. They're able to do more.
Mm.
I look at it like they're the webmasters of a web page. They're
Mm.
able to manipulate reality. If you can get the access to manipulate what you consider reality, then what is stopping you from taking over this planet literally, like on some mad scientist shit? You know what I'm saying? Like there's
Well,
nothing stopping you from it.
well, Andy, I think that happened. The U.S. is probably in possession of some technology.
Probably they are now that we
They,
know.
they, they we know it's called a nuclear bomb. So did the Russians, but they used it to their advantage to beat the Japanese at the time. But then the Cold War happened. Sorry, guys, if you're not aware, we'll get into this later. But there is something with UAP and nuclear weapons.
Oh yeah, I can get into that for days.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead, go ahead. Play the rest of it.
All right, all right. Let's play. Okay. There we go.
A meteor. Same version also for staff and journalists. Maximum penalties for transgressor, blah, blah, blah. Immediate confirmation of receipt is requested. So we see that we have at least 4 telegrams on this matter, on this event, on that day. So, we see that Mussolini personally ordered the arrest of the diffusion of the news. So it's something which was really considered very important.
Now again,
Then,
now again, for the viewers, these documents are verified, authentic. Just to be clear about that.
yes, yes, Roberto Pinotti, who is I already spoke about him. He received.
To be clear, these documents is what Lou was referring to, but I'll continue now.
Not all, but most of these documents were received by him by an anonymous sender. So we do not know who is the person who sent these documents. But in any case,
sure?
yes.
Are you sure you don't know who it is?
I don't know. I asked Roberto many times if he knew, but he said no. We can have some hint, but in any case, was someone acquainted with someone very top level? Well, I can tell you for sure now.
By the way, I love how Italian this is. It was a friend of a friend.
Yo, what did I tell you? You were complaining about how slow he was, but I said usually people that talk like that are a little more intelligent than the rest.
it's also kind of like a mob style of
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah. It was a friend of a friend.
It's
Now
a
it's
thing.
the equivalent, the Italian equivalent of the Majestic 12. It's called
Wow. Wow, that
RS.
was sorry. That just blew my mind.
Mhm,
I didn't know there was
exactly.
a Italian task force at the
Hmm.
time, which is news
Yes.
to me.
Yes, this is called RS-33, which stands for Ricerche Speciali, Special Researches, 33 because of the year when it was created. And it was, they say that it was, the president was Guglielmo Marconi.
Understood.
And by the way, this image shows the place,
This is really
the
cool.
location of the crash, of the landing. It's not far from Milan
I'm going.
and not far from Varese, that you see here. So this is the general area where this aircraft would have landed or crashed landing. We don't know for sure.
Now, sir, if I
Mhm,
can interrupt for one more time,
mhm.
I've heard the vehicle was a silver disc, and that is that true?
I'm showing this image because this is that was a hangar or one or more hangar
He's just not answering the question, but that's fine.
which were the property of the Society CI Marchetti, which was one of the top producer of aircraft at that time. And they said that this vehicle or what remained of this vehicle was conserved, was stored here in this facility, this
Now, are we
in a
talking
hangar.
about like the Italian Area 51 or S4?
Well, you know what? 51 or X4 are specifically designated localities for this kind of activities. This
Dancing around the question.
was a facility where that was in the vicinity of the landing site that they used, which was on hand to store these debris or this craft, whatever it was.
There, I think we talked about this. He was worried it was a secret German technology, and there was something else going on surrounding that craft. Would you please
Mhm.
tell us?
Yes, that's an interesting development that became known to us, at least in Italy, 10 years ago or 11 years ago. No, I think it's 11 years ago right now, when at one of the symposia in San Marino in 2010, it was, we had this intervention by this gentleman named William Brophy. This
Yeah.
gentleman from the US said that his father was an officer in the US Air Force, and that when he was in his duty had the possibility, it was shown the bodies kept under formalin of two aliens, of the classical Nordic aliens, so to speak. Bodies a bit damaged, but
Yeah.
easily recognized.
All right. I
Crazy.
gotta pause right now.
Crazy.
So, yeah. What do you think?
Well, you already know the discussion we had when we mentioned when I heard Nordics, I was like,
Yeah.
well then, but I mean, we could get into it another time, but I'll make a quick comment about it. Hitler, Nordics are described to be very, I guess you could say, I would say
Aryan.
beautiful, but very, like their physique is all, on point. blonde-haired, blue-eyed, tall. You could walk by them in the street, you wouldn't even know it because they look so similar to us, but they're
Right.
not, and like us. And there was one very evil individual who was obsessed with creating a master race of blonde-haired, blue-eyed individuals. So it makes you wonder,
Makes you
where this
wonder.
individual got that from, what made him so obsessed with it. And I've always had that theory ever since I found out about the Nordics and the fact that, this individual was very obsessed with UFOs. And I was like, okay, put two and two together. And it's starting to make a little sense as to why he wanted to make that master race.
All right. Noted. Let's continue.
Recognizable, I mean. And they were the classic kind of Nordic aliens. This is interesting, I mean, because this gentleman, Brophy, William Brophy, said that his father was also was told that these two bodies were confiscated in Italy, in northern Italy, at the end of the war by
the
the US
Americans.
Army, by the US Army, which of course brought them to the US. So there are speculations indeed that Mussolini could have been induced to ally with Germany because he could have thought that these two aliens were indeed Germans, and that and that aircraft was that landed or crash landed in northern Italy was actually a Wunderwaffen, one of those special
Secret.
weapons. Special weapons that the Germans were secretly developing, and that were fabled or already at the time. I mean, not just today. So, I mean, well, it's difficult to say if this is really true.
Yeah, so you sent
But
me
I mean,
you sent me the footage of Mr. Brophy telling his father's story. But then again, it's very anecdotal, and
exactly.
Party
but
pooper.
the problem,
You see, Max,
the problem here,
sorry to interrupt you. No, you
yeah,
see,
sure.
the problem is that apart from these documents, these telegrams, and a few others that exist, there are not so many tangible evidence on this.
What's happening? Oh, that's the end. I'm sorry. All right. So, guys, go to my channel, Moskowitz Show on YouTube. You can see the whole interview. There's much more. There's much more to that. But yeah, Andy, what do you think, man?
Well, like I said, it's I mean, when you think about the fact, and we mentioned this when we spoke, when you
Right.
think about the fact that, like you said, anything that happens in U.S. soil, U.S. land is automatic. Anything at that level, at least at that level, is considered top secret. You'll never know about it. But what are the odds? What are the odds that one incident happened that was verifiable, that had documentation, that
Exactly.
occurred outside of the U.S., that involved the U.S. at one point, occurred, and is now being brought forth into the public, in this way? Like that's to me is a sign that there's no coincidences. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a reason why these things are happening. And I know you mentioned, like, oh, well, like I think you mentioned before, like what the reason was or why this is occurring or something like that, or why people weren't covering it, or
No, it's a
maybe
life hack. It's a life hack. It's basically whatever happens in American skies, land, seas will always be classified to the general public. But whatever happens outside of American skies, land, and seas, and is also slightly dated. It's almost 100 years ago. Don't forget that. It's.
I mean, but you know what? It may be 100 years ago, but let's not also forget that the technology recovered from Roswell is still superior to this day. We still use the technology that was recovered from Roswell in our everyday appliances all the time, and there's
I got
still
news for you. It
huh?
wasn't Roswell. It was this.
Well, I'm going based off of Colonel Philip J. Corso's book on some of
Mm,
the stuff that they had retrieved.
mm,
But I could just imagine what they got from this craft that is also implemented in everyday life. Like it's
yeah,
just insane when you think about it. And I mean, just think about how advanced they had to be, or they are, to have
yeah,
technology that was discovered in these crashes that that long ago, and it's still superior technology to this day.
dude.
Like
Yeah.
that's wild when you think about it. Like still to this day is it's superior technology, and that's just what we uncovered or what we know about. Who knows what else they've reverse engineered and figured out, in behind the scenes. But it is it's
What
just it's crazy.
what I understand is that one of the reasons, the whistleblower, Mr. Grush, was disclosing this is something that's actually, it might be like almost a crime to humankind. We've been sitting on technology that could have prohibited us from using, oil, things that harm Earth, humans, etc. We could have used the technology we are using right now, electricity, or other things that is not damaging nature or humans, and they deprived us from that, which is horrible. They just went for economical gain, probably war. It's
It's
it's a bad thing.
it's sad when you think. I mean, it's no different than what they did with Tesla. I mean, look at everything that Tesla discovered and came up with, or was able to envision as a positive thing for the human race to move forward in their future and existence. And no sooner he died, all of it was gone, taken,
Mm.
confiscated, used
Yeah.
for profit, used for greed. That's the problem with our race, unfortunately. And
Well, I'm
I don't
quite
see that
happy.
changing.
I'm quite happy that technology didn't fall in the hands of the Italians or the Germans at the time. But
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
I mean, well, hey, actually, no, we can't say that it didn't, because again, Hitler was very into the whole UFO phenomenon and was, if I mean, from what I understand, was
yeah,
successful to a
now we
point.
know why.
Successful to a point, also in creating anti-gravity technology.
Mm, true.
So, just
And
imagine if they had more time to get into this.
look,
Forget it.
if you look at the interview I just showed you with Paolo, he's also talking about Nazi scientists who took the knowledge to the US, or actually the US took the Nazi scientists to the US.
Project Paperclip.
But yeah, exactly. But then again, I would probably not exist if they would like really had that information and stuff.
No way. No way.
Yeah, because I'm
I'm I'm
Jewish,
I'm
and they
glad he didn't.
they they almost killed my entire race, so, or my people. So
That would have been a real bad thing. Really bad. It's a good thing they
yeah,
didn't get that far. But they tried. They tried, and there's proof of it that they did attempt it. Look at, like we were talking about the Glocken and the incident that happened. Where was it? In Virginia, I believe it was Virginia, with the object that came down that was acorn shaped that looks similar to the Glocken.
Brazil, what do you mean, or
No, no,
Virginia, US?
yeah, here in the U.S. I
Oh,
forget what
okay,
year, but I know there was an incident where there was an object that came down and crashed in the woods, and it was similar in description to the Glock, and it had some symbols around it. Military came, took it away.
right.
Never, nobody ever heard anything about it ever again. But they did attempt it. And they did get to a certain point where they were successful in a sense with this technology. But again, like I was mentioning before, you got to ask yourself, you know, what what did they see, or what did Hitler get his hands on that got him so obsessed with this? Because
Right.
I mean, I'm me from personal experience.
No, Andy. Look, it's evident to me. You know, it's clear to me. Like Mussolini thought it was German, so probably the first people who got their hands on the technology were the fucking Germans, man.
Well, look at don't forget that video. Again, I forget these years because there's so many different videos. But there's those the two famous videos that been around now for years of the I believe it was the Germans that had gotten their hands on the disc that had crashed in the woods. You remember that
Right.
video
Hmm.
where they had the two individuals that were recording from two different vehicles, that they were able to use those two vehicles to confirm that this incident was actually legitimate because of that. Like if it
Yeah,
was
but
just one video, it's one, it's one thing to say, oh, it could have been fake.
yeah,
But
it's
the
the
fact
'90s
that,
one, right?
which one?
It's the '90s one, right?
Yeah. That
Yeah,
you see the guy on top of the truck, but
yeah,
the cameraman actually caught the second cameraman in a separate truck coming from a different direction, and they were both able to, once the two videos were found, they were both able to link it together to show that, okay, this was a legitimate incident. There was no, faking this. Like whatever they recovered, what was shown in that footage was real. So it
right.
makes you wonder, like, okay, what else did they recover, or what did they recover before that got Hitler so obsessed with blonde hair, blue eyes? Because we all know he didn't have blonde hair, blue eyes, and everyone always asks why blonde hair, blue eyes. But then when you
Yeah,
include and when you add in the whole Nordic thing and the fact that he was infatuated with the UFO and occult phenomena, then you can understand if he was in contact or if he had seen bodies or saw something that involved the Nordics. Listen, that's going to overtake you. Something like that is going to make you like, I mean, like based off of what I saw, it completely took over my entire life. So if I saw actual beings and I
mhm.
have this twisted mind like he did, then it's going to make sense that he wants to make a master race of blonde haired, blue eyed people based
Superior
off of
people.
these
Yeah,
beings, these
yeah,
Nordics that he saw that were, in his eyes, perfect beings. You understand?
yeah, yeah.
It makes sense when you think about that.
Of
It's like
course.
it's like even like when you think about the Bible, whenever you, for example, like you hear about the chariots from
Oh
the
yeah,
sky.
let's go there. Let's go there. Let's go Bible. Let's go let's go there. Let's address the elephant in the room. Let's go there
So
because
go ahead.
okay, so my theory, right? Um, we probably all have seen the film Men in Black, right? Do you remember the scene when I think it was Will Smith and what's his face? Um,
Oh my
Tommy
God.
Lee Jones. Tommy Lee
Yeah, yeah,
Jones.
yeah. Tommy
Yeah,
Lee Jones, yeah.
they went to the like this train station locker or something. Opened up the locker, and there was like this tiny alien species in the locker, but they only knew like whenever he opened the locker that they saw Tommy Lee's Jones
His
face,
face.
and they thought he was God,
Yeah.
and they were like, "All hail Jay!" And to him he was God. So basically, we could be the tiny idiot aliens in the train station locker, and whatever we see, like for example some Nordics that crashed, and now Hitler thinks all hail J, you
Yeah.
know yeah, that's God to him, so and what do humans want? Something divine. You want to be like that, right? That's our reflex, that's our nature. So
I mean,
uh,
when
uh,
go ahead.
and so the Bible, look, if you look closely, we have a very human explanation for whatever we see. For example, the native South Americans, whenever the Europeans came for the first time ashore, some of the Native Americans didn't even see the boat, right? Because their brain couldn't process it. It wasn't something they ever saw before.
Mhm.
Some of them did see it and almost approached the Europeans as divine beings, right? Something that was a gift to them. If you look at the Bible, angels, um, um, how do you call this?
Spirits.
Pyramids, what, yeah, spirits, pyramids. Anything we can't explain gets a human explanation, right? But we might, I do feel we are still a very primitive life form, right? Because if you think about it, evolutionary, we just started walking straight up 50,000 years ago on an evolutionary timeline. That's yesterday.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
nothing.
it's nothing. And we are in a century, like if you really think about it, the century we are living in, like in my day, I'm 44 years old. I grew up with one or two TV channels. A couple of years later, there was internet, access to the world. A couple of years later, we had iPhones, we had like pocket cameras. Everything just changed in such a pace. And if you compare that to the decades or the centuries before, there wasn't a lot of change. It was wood, iron, beating each other's brains in. That was about it.
Yeah.
And now we live in an age we started flying, driving cars with a press on a button, have access to all information in the world, and this is just in fucking 50 years or something.
Yeah,
you know
basically.
yeah,
Like
we live in
literally.
it literally. So there's something going on over here.
Actually, no, I wouldn't even say 50 years because I just turned 40. So less than
Dude,
50 years.
you turn 40, you baby.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it. It's actually less than 50 years because when I was younger, none of that technology existed like that. We
No,
still had rotary, we still had, basic shit. So less than 50 years, honestly. That's
I
which is
actually
crazy.
played outside, which is wild.
Like I mean, we were born, yeah, you know what I'm saying? We were around from the beginning of video games to what we have now. So think about that. Like we literally existed in the time frame where all of this technology just fucking skyrocketed. But when you go back to the whole Bible thing, you know, I mean, now that this information is coming out, that's another thing that people have to put into consideration is the fact that this is probably one of the reasons why they never really brought this information out is because I mean, now the real possibility that our God is not some old man with a big white beard sitting on a freaking massive gargantuan galaxy-sized throne is
Mhm.
our God. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
we're now at a point in our technology where we're able to create life in a sense. You
right.
understand? Like if we
Mhm.
create, for example, artificial intelligence that becomes sentient at one point, guess what? We're its God. We created that. So if
Mhm.
we create a sentient artificial intelligence, then what is stopping our God from being a race that came down here and genetically modified a being that was already here, added their DNA to it, and created us? So our
Yeah.
God is not some divine being. It's another fucking race from another planet that came here and fucked around with our biological, makeup. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, my theory about God is as follows. I think God is, as you said, not like the old white dude with a big white beard on a cloud or something with
On
a
a,
wand
a
or
nimbus.
no, not at all. It's not Morgan Freeman either. you know,
And
uh,
let's clear it up. He's got no gender, okay?
no, he's omnipotent. It's something like in Judaism, like in my religion. It's very similar to Islam actually, in contrary to Christianity. Like Jews and Muslims consider God omnipotent. Um, God does not, like the Christian think as God as a human being, right? He looks like a human being. He talks as a human being. We don't think about God like that. We think about God speaks in his divine way, which is not a language. It's only godly. right? And God appears only in his divine way, godly, right? So God is just omnipotent, right? This is how we consider God. But on that note, this is my theory about God, and possibly related to whatever is happening in UAP. It's energy, right? So energy is connected, like, and energy is connected in such a widespread way, like for example, me and you talking right now, that's like an exchange of energy. People listening to us, that's an exchange of energy. But it goes way further. In Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, there's the metaphor of the tree of life, right? So you see a tree above ground, but what makes the tree? It's all the branches on the ground that are interconnected with everything, you know, everything, everything, earth, people, everything. If you die, your corpse, you know, will release that energy back to earth. It's kind of like Avatar. Basically, Avatar is Kabbalah, but that's another discussion. But it's all about the exchange of energy, and I think that energy goes even that goes upstairs, it goes downstairs. I think there's something about energy exchange, which is what humans mistakenly call God. Something like that.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, in a sense, it falls in line with my theory, which is, like the universe. The universe itself is God, or what we consider God. I mean,
Right.
we use that term to, identify a divine being, but I don't think it's a divine being. It's like you say, I think it's a divine energy.
Right.
If you look at the universe, right, and you look at it from the way that we are able to see it now,
Mm.
it looks like the connections of the human brain. There's not really much of a difference the way it looks similar to it. So if you have something on a scale,
Mm.
as the universe, which is incredibly big, you can't even wrap your mind around just how massive that is,
Right.
and we're living in it. So
Mhm.
the possibility that the universe itself is sentient is very, very real. And what's there to stop a sentient energy of that size, of this stature, from being able to create life just from the thought of it? You know what I'm saying? Just like, for
Mhm.
example, me and you, or an artist that creates a painting, right? What if we were a painting of the universe's imagination? You know what I'm
Well,
saying? And it's such a
that's a very
powerful thing
plausible
that it just
theory,
comes to
actually.
life. What happened?
That might be a very plausible theory, you know.
I mean, think about. I mean, I mean, when you think about it, it's not. You can't say it's unbelievable or it can't happen, because we don't know. Like, I mean, it's very possible. Just like, for example, what we were just talking about with all this, when it comes to religion.
Mm.
Like, the reason why, for example, like with Christianity and Catholicism and all that, we tend to link God or Jesus or whatever with a human form, is because, don't forget that Jesus was a real person at one point. Like
Sure.
that
Also,
individual existed.
well, yeah, he did exist, and he was also Jewish.
Exact. But you got to think about this, right? Now you got to think about the fact that, okay, this whole subject now is becoming very, very real. It's actually even more real now with this new individual that came forward with this information. So now,
Yeah.
when you look back at our past, for example, like an individual like Jesus,
Right.
Mary was born. I mean, Mary was impregnated from out of nowhere, and we know that now to be artificial insemination.
Mm.
Okay, so if there was a being up there that was trying to communicate in a way with this primitive species where it didn't scare the shit out of us,
And we
how,
should actually go back to Adam and Eve on that note, right?
I mean, yeah, you could go back to them, but that's really far back.
Yeah,
That's really far
but
back.
look, if you think about it, there must be like, okay, this is like a true mind fuck for me. Like, okay, so if like I'm kind of an atheist. The only thing I know is I don't know shit. That's my motto in life. But
Mm.
if you think about Adam and Eve, there must be like a first one, like an original gangster, like a thing. But if it would be like a first couple, it would be inbred, right? Because their children would have to mate and continue, and that's how humankind developed. But if you think about it, like there's this theory of us being hybrids. Well, how do you feel about that?
Well, I completely agree with it. That's why, I mean, that's kind of why it's a little,
It's more
the
plausible, I
whole
think.
the whole story of Adam and Eve kind of like, it's tough to put into that whole, I guess you could say, equation, because then it kind of throws everything off, because you also got to remember that the ancient Sumerians is one of the first, written civilizations with written document or written text, I guess you could say, a written
Mm,
history.
mm.
And they talked about the sky beings that came down and created us.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And that predates the Bible, if I'm not mistaken. So
It could
now,
be.
if it predates the Bible and they talked about this, then you have to ask yourself, are some of the stories in the Bibles actually accurate, or were they just created in a way? Because you also, okay, think of it like this too. Look at where we are right now in the state of mankind. We're
Right.
we're pretty much fucked. Okay, our mind is all over the fucking place. I mean, we don't know. We can't fucking agree on a fucking gender, bro. I mean, there's a
I do.
vagina and there's a
I do.
vagina and there's a penis. Pick one. You know what I'm saying? Apparently, there isn't either one in this world right now, and there's something in between
What
that
are your pronouns?
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be disrespectful to nobody. I'm just trying to prove a point. Like, it's gotten out of hand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like when you look at when you put all this into perspective now, it's I lost my point of what I was trying to say, but
I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. Um, but it's, how can you say, we're talking about religion, right?
Look, the thing was, uh, I tried to tie religion, Christianity, Judaism, Islamism to whatever the thing is we are experiencing and the
Oh,
exchange of energy.
I
Yeah,
remember. I remember now. So basically, what I was trying to get at was the whole religion thing, and God. I mean, and Jesus. If you have a race of beings that you see that there's a potential for them to go haywire,
right.
right? There's what? How do you come up with a method to get into their minds to give them something to fear, to keep them in line,
Mm,
right?
mm.
Religion. You give them something to fear. You tell them that there's something bigger than them, that if they don't do the right thing, they go to hell or they go to somewhere bad.
Also,
So
you give
that,
them a handbook for life.
yeah, exactly. So you
Yeah.
give them, so basically, in a sense, when people could, criticize religion, no, don't criticize religion.
No,
You
not
want
at all. No, no,
fucking
no.
religion, not because of believing in in supernatural shit. No, because at the end of the day, religion teaches mankind to be good to one another. Screw whatever it is that they're believing in a sense of a higher power. Fine, you have to look at the teachings that's behind the religion, because it's showing you how to interact with one another and not become the wild animals that exist around you. You understand what I'm saying? So if
Exactly.
you take Mary and you inseminate her and you create this being that is half alien, or at least has more alien DNA in the being than human, and can do these things that are miracles, it's going to, in a sense, use this individual to to show people and teach people to be this way and kind of lead them in the right direction. You understand?
Right.
Because if not, we get to where we are now, where no one fears God anymore. No one fears anything. So it's like almost total fucking anarchy. Anybody can do what they want. I mean, for God's sakes, you got strippers in fucking kindergartens. I mean, think about that. Think about where we are as a species right now in 2023. We should be flying around like the fucking Jetsons, and we're still acting like a bunch of morons arguing about the dumbest shit you could possibly think about. I would prefer to argue with a fucking flat earther right now than someone who says that. And again, I'm not
You are if there were a God, you were probably the voice of God right now. It's like a parent, like you have so much talent, but you're throwing it all away.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing, bro?
Yeah, look, you have all these skills.
Seriously, I mean, and that's, I mean, when you really think about it, we're in a real bad position. And now that this information is coming out, it starts to make you wonder why is coming out in the way it's coming out now in such a. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it is pretty fast paced. You understand? Like we went 75, whatever, 80 years without fucking knowing anything, being ridiculed, and all of a sudden, in the last fucking 5 or 6 years, we're here.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes you. It does make you wonder. There has to be some underlying reason as to why this information is coming out the way it's been coming out. Like, and me personally, I'm a very intuitive individual. I just found out recently I'm an INFJ, and it's like very intuitive empath or something like that. I didn't even know.
Dude, are you into that woke shit now?
No. I took. Apparently somebody sent me a. I'm working with someone who's like works on personalities, and they had me do a pretty intricate personality test, and it took about a little over an hour to do. And
I took a
it came up.
personality test once.
Did
Turns
you?
out I'm a psychopath. No.
I can definitely see that. But I mean, what I was gonna say is that, like, I don't know if it's just me. Maybe it is just me. I doubt it. I'm probably sure there's other people out there who feel the same as me. But when you really look outside, when you stand outside of the box and you're looking inside at everything that's going on, at the speed that it's been happening, at the rate that it's been happening, and the way it's been held back before, and all of a sudden it's just out there like that, something is happening. Either something is happening or something is going to happen soon, or sooner than we think, that is going to be such a fucking blow to your reality that you just have no choice whether to accept it or not. Like it just, and it's just trying to get you to that point to accept what's going to happen, because if not, you're going to be left behind.
Right. There's a thing about consciousness. Right? Andy, can you for like 3 minutes take over, because I have to piss like a racehorse?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna mute this for the audience. I'm sorry. I won't make you part of whatever I'm doing next. So take it away, Andy Marcial.
Oh my God, you got me nervous now. I don't know what to talk about. So yeah, I mean, like back what we were saying about the whole religion thing, you know, now with this whole, I mean, with this interview is bigger than people might, understand. Like it's a big fucking deal that this guy came forward and mentioned this. Like it's never happened in this way ever in the history of this subject, especially when it comes to in the manner where it's being presented. You understand? It's not ridiculed anymore. We have an office in the Pentagon. We have Congress that's involved in all of this. I mean, we have people now that are actually paying attention to this in a real way. And you have to now start really considering everything. It's no longer like you got to throw the word conspiracy out the fucking window now, because for years it was considered a conspiracy, and now it's truth. It's fucking real. So if it's real, then all of these things have to now be looked at in a different light. especially when it comes to our history, especially when it comes to our ancient history. You understand? And regardless of whatever it is that you want to believe in, whether it's, Buddha or Allah or, some rabbit in the sky, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, all of this boils down to one moment or one incident that, with cultures spread out, and stories were created and different religions. For example, like cargo cults. I've spoken about this a million times before. But cargo cults, if for those that are not familiar with what that is, there was and I'll give you a quick rundown of one story I remember. I'm not sure if it was during World War I or World War II, where we had landed on what we thought was a deserted island that we used as, as a base, And when we landed there, we realized there was an indigenous group of people that lived there. And that group of people had never, ever seen any other humans in their entire life. Nothing. And all of a sudden, they see these metallic birds or these giant birds coming down from the sky, and people or things that look like them coming out of them with weird clothing and everything. They had no idea what was happening. And then all of a sudden, these people started giving them gifts: pots, pans, clothing, and stuff like that, things that they've never seen before that assisted them in their everyday living. So once the war was over, the humans left. We abandoned the base, and we went back home or whatever, but we left them there. None of these individuals were taken. So I believe it was years later, scientists or a group of researchers went to go and check up on them to see what they were up to. And they were shocked to find out that they had created a religion. They created a religion based off of the sky people, believe it or not. Literally like that, the sky gods or the sky beings. And they created a makeshift idol of a plane that they would worship, and they would pray to it every single day, asking for the sky gods to come back and bring them gifts. So if that can happen, and this is real, you could research it. It's available on the internet. You can look it up. It's happened, actually, if I'm not mistaken, more than once. But if that can happen with our own race, with humans meeting other humans and thinking those humans are gods, then what the fuck is stopping an alien race coming down here and us thinking that they're gods? It's no different. You know what I'm saying? There's no different whatsoever. So this is why now this information, it opens the doors to all this other stuff that we now have to look into in a different light, because it's a very good possibility that our God is not what we think it is. Our God may be these beings that came down, or even if they crash or whatever, it might be them. And that's pretty wild when you think about it.
And I think you're onto something.
I'm pretty sure I am, because I have who was it? I know Lou was making mention of something that then all of a sudden Jonathan Ramirez came out and said, and I know he told me, and I believe he said in a few interviews, that what Lou is alluding to is the fact that they already know
the Vatican
that our DNA has been altered and contains extraterrestrial DNA in it. So that's very interesting.
This, my brother, is going to be one of the next steps we're going to encounter, probably in the next two decades or something. But yeah, this is another one. This is another one, right? Are you by the way religious?
I was.
Was,
I'm not religious anymore. I'm more spiritual, I guess you could say.
Right. This is the funny thing. I got to show you something. So this is my great grandfather.
Ooh, is that the boxer?
No. This is actually his grandfather.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah. So we were Hasidic. Like you probably know them from Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, definitely do.
So this is the last generation of my family that was Hasidic, right? Extremely religious, but I look, just imagine me with a black hat and you know the dreadlocks right here.
I can actually imagine that, bro.
I know,
I'm picturing it right now, and it's hilarious.
I know, I know. Take away the black hat and the dreadlocks, and you have a mobster. But yeah, that's my roots, right? So extremely religious. But you know, the thing is that whatever they're studying is mostly Kabbalah, like Jewish mysticism. And the funny thing is, it's quite interesting because they don't disqualify anything, right? Not even um, like extraterrestrial existence, anything like that. You know,
Mhm.
the main thing about the our religion is like we know a couple of things. That's the rules, like we were just talking about, like the rules for life, like the commandments, or say for us, like the hygiene, those kind of things. But mainly, what my people do is just study God, and it's also like a very complicated mathematical thing where like every letter is also a number, and if you like connect those, you have a new word. And what they think is if you study very closely, you'll find God, right? Like that's what basically Kabbalah is, like a math thing.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to that though, but you know I'm still not. But there's so much about Kabbalah, like Jewish mysticism, that takes me to UAP for some reason, and that is like the exchange of energy. That's a big thing for Judaism, because we don't believe in heaven or hell, because we don't think that spirit really dies, right? Like the soul doesn't really die. Um, and in Christianity or in Islam, the soul goes to either heaven or hell, right? But we don't really feel like that. We don't really think the energy of your soul perishes. You know, it just it 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 goes on. But
Yeah.
then again, we're very um, agnostic in it, because nobody claims to. This is the cool thing about Judaism. We don't claim to know if there's a heaven or a hell. We don't disqualify it. But there's only one thing we know, and that is your energy, your spirit will never perish. That's the only thing we know.
Well, that's also proven in was it physics? You can't destroy energy. So we're made up of energy. Then we, at least our essence or what makes us us continues existing somewhere, whether it be spread out or whatnot. Who knows? But me personally, I the way I look at it, I feel like I always look at it like the more open that you are in life to things like this, and you can accept them, and you question, and you research, and just um like dive into these things, like the conversations we're having now. I feel like the more open you are to it, the more accepting you are to these unknowns, that when it comes time that your body's no longer functioning and you are, you deactivate, you're dead, that you you're able to take that step into the next existence
Mm,
because you're not afraid of it. You understand what I'm saying? You
sure, yeah.
have that acceptance of the unknown and what can come of it. So you take that step, you take that next step into whatever comes after. And maybe there are people who, when they pass away, that fear it and get stuck. You understand what I'm saying? Their energy isn't allowed to pass or isn't allowed to progress. which is probably where we get ghosts and stuff from, or those, visions of what we see, that we consider ghosts. It could just
Right.
be something like that, where people really are stuck in this reality because they're not able to take that step forward. Their existence here keeps them from moving on to the next level. You understand? But an individual or individuals like us that are able to accept this and are able to question and are able to accept the fact that there is way more than what we're taught, or way more than what we see with our five senses, that when the time comes, you don't fear it. You actually go towards that and see what happens. And maybe that's, the I guess you could say, the point of all this. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Maybe.
I told you the story about the gloves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my only weird story, but yeah.
But I mean, it could be anything like that. You never know,
Yeah.
But that's the way I like to look at it. The more
Yeah.
accepting you are, and the more open you are, and more questions you ask, when the time comes.
I don't know about you. Like the older you get, right? Like you have some wild experiences, and and whatever you experience, I take very seriously. But because you're Andy, you're my buddy, right?
Mhm.
Um, but you know, the more you experience, the more questions I have, man. In life, it's like
It's never ending,
it,
bro.
it's never ending. It's like, what the fuck is going? It is. It's weird
It's
in a
it's
way.
never
But
ending.
then again, growing older, I'm very complacent, or not. No. Not that's not the right term. I'm very in peace with whatever I don't know. I'm in peace with it, right? So I'm just in peace with it. You don't have to always know everything. Sometimes you just have to feel something, experience something, not try to understand it or explain it, and just
Your intuition.
it might be intuition, but it's also something you feel. And the human reflexes always try to explain, and that's when we turn to religion, or that's when we turn to something we can use to understand stuff, right?
Hmm. I mean, I agree with it. Um, but it's interesting now. It's like, it's because I mean now, especially now that we're starting to get into the whole field of multiple dimensions and everything. It's like, oh my God, then that just opens up another freaking rabbit hole, and you're like, fuck, I'm still falling down this rabbit hole. And now there's another one over here. Like, shit, you know what I mean? But you could look at it like this, right?
Yeah.
Our minds are like computers, right? And we can store massive amounts of information, but
Yeah.
we still have limits. Our brains are still limited to a certain amount of information. And I think it's at that point where you start to reach out, or you start to look at those other areas of reality or understanding to try and make sense of it, because your brain was not made to have that information inside of it. Your brain was not meant for the computer system was not meant to handle that much information. You understand what I'm saying? And
Right.
that's where we get the whole believing in God and this and all that. But now when you think about the fact, that there's beings out there with a higher capacity, you understand, with a more upgraded computer system in their minds, now just imagine what they know. Just imagine what they're capable of understanding. You know what I'm
True.
saying? So when you think of it like that, and it's like, damn, we don't know shit, number one. And you know what's funny too? They're also limited to a certain point too. So maybe they look at us to try and find certain things out, based of our primitive understanding that maybe they lost during their evolution,
For
that
sure.
they're now trying to, research us. Maybe it could be in the sense of religion too, or looking for God. Maybe they don't know what God is either.
Well, I do think we're very primitive, and I do think like if I were an alien, it would be fascinating to study us, right? You know, we are capable of compassion, we are capable of love, we're capable of a lot of things, but we are also capable of extreme violence, you know, horrible violence actually, and evil. It's we're if I were an alien, it would be fascinating to study humankind, I guess.
Well, that's probably why they still hang around here. Maybe they just seeing how we develop and capturing all the data and everything and doing whatever they do with it. I mean, you never know, because you also got to think of the fact that if these beings exist, whether it be one or two or three, they also had their beginnings.
Mm,
You understand? And
I do.
like when you think of us, right? And I brought this up in different conversations, but I joked around saying that all aliens might be the asshole rich people of their planet. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Because
right.
when you put our species into perspective with something like that, right?
Mm,
What person or what group of people on this planet would have access to that level of technology to go do something like that? Some cocksucker like fucking Jeff Bezos. That's who. You know what I'm saying? With his fucking cowboy hat and his penis-shaped rocket flying around the goddamn galaxy. You know what I mean? He goes, lands on another planet, finds some fucking race that has no idea anybody else exists, and they see that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
it's like it could be something like that. You never know. But I'm making a joke out of it, but when you think about it, realistically, it could be that these races, went through everything that we're going through now to get to where they're at. But now that they're where they are, maybe they lost a lot of what made them who they were
Mm,
in the past. You understand what I'm saying? Because you got
sure.
to ask yourself too, like, you see how diverse we are when it comes to our humor, when it comes to our art, when it comes to our movies, when it comes to our video games. I mean, to me, video games is a massive way of showing off mankind's imagination, because
Right.
that's incredible. At this point, it's absolutely incredible.
Mm,
But what if they lost all of that? Like, I always ask questions that normal people wouldn't ask when it comes to this subject. And one question I always asked was, what the hell do aliens find or consider fun? Like, do they laugh? Do they do stupid shit like us? Do they
like
fuck
art.
around with humans on purpose just to fucking get a laugh? You know what I'm saying? Look at these dumb monkeys. We just buzzed them and they think they fucking saw Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
do they
I
do
would do
something
that.
like that? I would, you know what I'm saying? I would definitely do that. But you never know if they
Yeah,
get to a point in their evolution where they lost that, where
yeah,
they lost humor, where they lost these kind of things that make, you know, our race interesting. What if they lost that, and they're just like some robotic race that just does what they do and everyone's assigned a task and they go and do it. And yeah, okay, like ants, when they work together can accomplish incredible things. But ants aren't funny. I don't hear no fucking ant cracking a joke. You know what I'm saying? That's just, it looks like a boring life, like just going
yeah.
out, dying for your colony, or coming back and bringing food and doing the same fucking shit all over again. You know what I'm saying?
But
So,
there's also a lot of things I can explain. Like for example, um, my grandfather died last year, right?
mhm.
So just before he died, I had this dream, weird dream, and like everyone, I dreamt about everyone I loved. You know, like my kid, my ex-wife, my girlfriend, my mom, my dad, brothers, sisters, and everybody spoke Yiddish.
Mhm.
We don't speak Yiddish anymore, like at all. Like the only one that could have spoken Yiddish was my grandfather, because he grew up speaking Yiddish with his parents. Never spoke Yiddish with his kids. you know, he was multilingual. It was like Polish and Yiddish, like a dying Jewish language or something. But I dreamt a dream where everyone was just speaking Yiddish. I was speaking Yiddish. Everyone was speaking Yiddish. Next day, got the news he died.
Crazy.
That's weird, right? It's so weird. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things like that that just add more questions to everything because, like, for example, deja vu, or individuals that are born remembering a past life.
Mm.
Like, when you see these things and you see that they're real, these incidents are real, these cases are real. It makes you wonder, okay, now what does all that mean? Like, so that's where all those questions and everything, you just keep going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole because there's so many mysteries.
Right.
And unfortunately, with our brain was just not meant to handle that level of information. But another thing I wanted to bring up is, now that all this is coming out, and you consider the fact that these beings might have created us,
Mm.
maybe we're getting to a point where, not all, because I'm not going to say, I always said this phenomenon is not for everybody, because not
No.
everybody's going to accept it, because unfortunately not everybody is psychologically capable of accepting it.
It's also very unsafe, because I can imagine, this is gonna drop now, right? Like, if you're a scared human being, like a God-fearing human being, and now all of your axioms are gonna be doubted, right? Like everything you thought of being assured, like every like the things that were for sure in your life, everything is going to be doubted right now, because not only we're not going to be alone in the universe, so your religion your religion is going to be doubted, because that doesn't work
Doesn't
out
add up.
no, it doesn't add up anymore. So there's a lot of fundamentals that will break down, so there's going to be a lot of resistance, so yeah,
Well, this
it's
is
going
this
to be
this
hard.
this is why I think that all this is happening for a reason, because I feel like I mean, I don't know what it is, but I have a really, really, really strong feeling that something is going to happen. I don't know if it's whether that, we're going to get some kind of worldwide event that's just going to stop everybody dead in their tracks, and no government on this planet has any control over what's going to happen. So they're kind of like preparing people to just kind of be ready. I have no clue, but I do feel strongly that something like that is in the horizon. For what reason, I don't know, but I feel like, and
What's
maybe
that?
it's intervention. Honestly, maybe it's an intervention that mankind needs. You know what I mean? That might end up like kind of just like snapping us out of this bullshit fucking mentality that everybody's got nowadays. I don't know, maybe, but you can't dismiss it. You can't say unlikely because you don't know. Like the individual Tavios just put, to say unlikely is like claiming Jesus Christ is real. You don't know that. You can't say these things definitively because we don't have those answers to definitively say that that can't happen. The same way, UFOs were once considered a conspiracy and now they're real. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. Well, basically now anything is possible. I mean, when you think about it, but
Well,
that's me. That's my personal opinion. I feel like this is happening for a reason, and something bigger is coming, sooner rather than later. What
that's
it
your
is,
that's your
I'm not
that's your
sure.
that's your intuition, and I share that intuition. I feel the same way. I've had that feeling for a while. There's more coming, but I the only thing is, I do feel quite lonely in that feeling. You know, it's there's only a handful of people who feel the same way. I do feel there's something coming, and
And you know what? I don't mean to cut you off, but listen, I mean, you can be religious, you can not be religious, but there are certain things that you can find in religious texts that you just can't discount when it comes to, for example, like prophecies and stuff like that, like Revelation. The way Revelation puts everything down into perspective as to what's going to happen in the end of days. We don't know what end of days really means. It
yeah,
could be
doesn't mean anything.
something. It could be something completely different than what we perceive as end of days. Like
Might be just another chapter.
yeah, it could be something like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
when you look at some of these things and you look at how things are playing out, you kind of have to ask yourself, like, okay, what's going on here? Because I kind of thought that this wasn't real, but when you start reading into it, you're like, all right, wait a minute. Now we're thinking about making a one world money and a one world government, and this is happening and that's happening, and you're like, all right, something is not adding up. Something is not right. So whether or not you want to be religious and say, oh yeah, it's because of the Bible saying this, or because the Quran, or because of this, or because of that, that's fine. But at the end of the day, we're living through some very interesting times where you can see that something is coming soon.
true.
What it is, I don't know, but that's just the
Well,
feeling I got.
well, I think today there's something here.
Oh yeah. Today is like, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I'm still freaking out about that shit.
But I got you. I got you. On that note, it's 4:20 in the morning over here.
Oh my God, bro. I keep forgetting you're all the way down there.
Yeah, I should probably go to bed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you should get some fucking sleep.
Yeah, it was a big day. So I'm grateful I got to finish it with you, my friend, and
Same here, buddy.
yeah, I gotta go to sleep, man. So
you have a good night. It was a good talk. Thank you for having me.
anytime, my brother. And again, this is the guy I called first,
Yeah.
and love him to bits. All right, man.
Love you too, bro. You have a good
Have a
night.
great
Take
one.
care, everybody. Thank you for
And my
watching.
audience, love you guys. Bye bye. Ciao.